For a somewhat more obscure villain in the Marvel universe, Taskmaster sure shows up a lot in my comments. I get lots of people asking for a Taskmaster training video, and I think the reason for this is that he has one of the coolest and most interesting skill sets in comics. He has what is known in the comics as photographic reflexes, meaning that he can see someone perform a movement once and then perfectly replicate that movement himself. The question, of course, that everyone wants to know is this possible? Unfortunately, as it happens, I can't find any examples, any real-life correlates of photographic reflexes. That said, there are things we can do to become better at picking up skills more quickly. We can learn to learn, as it were, especially when it comes to our physicality. We need to prepare our bodies to be able to perform as many skills as possible, and we need to prepare our minds, our brains, so that we can more quickly learn the precise movement patterns.
Yeah, you always want to keep looking ahead whenever you're doing any of these spinning techniques, because the first thing people do when they go wrong is they immediately look away.
Okay.
And as soon as you do something like that, you're going to lose completely where you are. Always have something to sort of spot that's in front of you. So can you see I'm looking at that spot there? You want to look at the point until you can't physically look at it anymore.
Often we hear the term general physical preparedness. It refers to the kind of base training that we might do to then become better at performing any other kind of movement that we might need. So general physical preparedness might be used as the first mesocycle in a periodized training program. So it might give you that cardio base, some general strength, some work capacity that you can then transfer to your training so you become better at whatever else it is that you want to do. So yeah, a lot of this is to do with conditioning, with improving your cardio and work capacity. However, what's also interesting is the idea of building up your general strength and a kind of base of performance. Ross Edgley talks about using more compound movements in order to build a greater overall strength base that you can then translate to different movements. You've built a greater mind-muscle connection, greater control over your body, so you can recruit and draw upon more strength, whatever else it is that you want to do.
So from here, I turn to here at the same time, so I'm still kind of looking over that shoulder. Pull that shoulder even back a little bit more, and then I like initiate a sort of elbow strike with this arm at the same time a mini hook with this arm, but again, it's not a huge swing. So from here, as I do this, I'll sort of flatten that foot down there and turn around at the same time you do that spotting then. So this all kind of happens at the same time, obviously. Yeah. Then when we come round, we're going to lift this leg. But instead of going upwards like you do in a jumping kick, this is more a straight travelling kind of attack kick. Yeah. We keep the foot low down instead.
I personally think that just using the traditional compound lifts though might not be enough for this. If our goal is to become like Taskmaster and able to pick up new skills quickly, then we need to practice taking on new skills. We need to learn as many new things as possible. Because when you learn a new skill, a new movement, even just a new exercise, this is an education in itself. This is obviously true when it comes to more complex movements like planche or like a muscle up, but it's also true for more simple and straightforward things, whether that's a deadlift or a squat. All of these have minutiae. Learning new skills helps keep you youthful for longer. And if you also want to look more youthful for longer, then check out today's sponsor, Tiege Hanley. Tiege Hanley is a men's skincare brand that's designed to make taking care of your skin as easy as possible. This is a simple step that guys can take to ensure they look and feel their best, which is all part of being your most badass self. With Tiege, you not only get all the products you need in a single pack, but also straightforward instructions on how and when to use them. I've been using the Level 1 system, which provides a daily face wash, exfoliating scrub, AM moisturizer with SPF 20, and PM moisturizer. I really wish I'd started taking skincare seriously sooner, but I'm relieved to see that it's not too late to make some positive progress. Tiege Hanley is one of the easiest and most effective ways you can do the same. They have over 5,000 5-star reviews, and when you become a member, you'll get 20% off the retail price, access to exclusive deals, the ability to pause or cancel your subscription at any time, and free US shipping. And because Tiege Hanley is sponsoring today's video, they're offering my viewers a great deal. Just click the first link in the description and you'll get 30% off your first box, plus a free gift. Don't miss out on this amazing deal, just click that link and get started today.
It's almost like a mini reverse elbow strike, as well as kind of like a hook. At the same time. Yeah, that's right. So as you step to here, then you're going to flatten that foot down, look around, and then you need to land out of this spin with the foot turned fully around that way. So it's even more than that. So it's like, if you can, the heel facing it, and it's much easier at speed as well.
Okay, so
yeah.
Hang on.
Keep looking forwards as well.
So we're here.
Yeah.
Hang on. So we're here, and then it's like bang.
Yeah.
Bang. Bang.
Yeah, that's it.
So for example, with the planche, even a easier planche progression, you need to learn straight arm strength. You need to learn to lock out the elbows and protract the scapula to drive strength into the floor. If you've never done anything like this before, you might not even know what these terms mean. So I'm going to learn a different movement that also requires straight arm strength. The same goes for a kettlebell swing, where you need to hip hinge, where you need to contract at the right time and relax the body at the right time. You're learning more control over your body.
As soon as I straightened them, I thought.
It's because you haven't trained it. This is exactly what I'm talking about.
That's it.
That was really good.
Yeah.
That's it, man.
What you'll find is there's a surprising amount of carryover between each of these things, so that you can apply your skills learned in one movement to another one. You start to see the connections. And we can go a little bit deeper with this by using my ATNSP hierarchy. So underlying any activity that you engage in are specific traits that you need, specific attributes as well, and even networks, combinations of muscle groups used together in order to exert a particular effect. So a lot of things, for example, require a certain amount of rotation, whether it's throwing a kick, whether it's throwing a punch, whether it's throwing a ball or a med ball. All these things require you to rotate the body, and there's also a certain amount of rotation in running. So by training the rotation of the body, you can actually become stronger in this area, gain greater control over this kind of movement, and so then apply more to the movements that you're trying to learn. Plugging those gaps in your own training, and it's looking for patterns when it comes to different types of movement and the things you want to learn. All of this is going to increase your movement intelligence, and it's one reason that Liam, who doesn't train martial arts, was relatively able to pick up the tornado kick from Grant, because he's so used to moving his body in different ways. As someone who does parkour and advanced calisthenics skills, he just has more control and awareness of his body. There are certain activities and hobbies you can engage in, such as martial arts, such as parkour, gymnastics, that are going to give you a very wide range of different movement patterns automatically, and you can then plug those gaps with different things as you go.
So if you just practice the step first, if you see where my foot lands, I won't do the kick, if I just go like this. You see how I kind of land there?
Okay.
And then what happens is the kick is pretty much already done. And it's basically just using those steps. If I don't go as far, you see it loses all of the, and I'm like off balance. Whereas this, you should be able to spin.
Yeah, you're transferring it momentum from the kick into
and you use those arms to spin, but don't worry too much about the
There is also, of course, just a pure strength element here and a mobility element. Strength because if you want to do something like a handstand push-up, then no matter how much control you have over your shoulders and over your core, you're not going to be able to do it if you don't have the strength. You can balance a handstand perhaps because this is much more skill-based, but if you want to perform a handstand push-up, you're going to need a certain amount of pressing strength. The same thing goes for one-armed pull-up or all kinds of other things. Even something like the planche requires strength. Likewise, we need the mobility. If you want to get into the position for a lot of movements, then you need the mobility to be able to get there. Again, you can't copy something if you can't get into that position, no matter how skilled you are at learning.
It was like you went down and then came this way,
Okay.
but it's more of a straight axis.
Okay, so you're rotating around
Yeah.
here. Okay, so
Yeah, nice. So you're doing way too much with this leg. You're lifting it really high,
okay.
and you just need to let it kind of follow. So think of the hips replacing, so right hip, left hip, then here.
That's the body side of things, but what's also massive when it comes to, potential photographic reflexes is the brain, because we're talking about memorization, we're talking about identifying particular movement patterns, and to do this, you need to listen to and understand so many different things all at once.
So I've got my arms up and
Step, good. Lift, that's it, nice, yeah. You don't actually have to kick that high, because if you get that foot round, your foot will already be in position. Yeah, that's kind of what it is, yeah.
I think just maybe drilling this a couple of times.
Yeah. Good. Yeah. Try not to drill it though. Try to drill it with the momentum of the steps. So at the moment, as you're going 1, 2, 3, that's right. But I always tell people to focus on this with the hops, because if you build that habit in with the steps, some people can't do the hops. So
particularly with more advanced and complex skills. And when you do that, you're using your working memory. I made a whole video on working memory recently, so check it out if you're interested. But essentially, your working memory is your RAM. It's where your brain stores temporary information to then manipulate and work with. So if you're performing a long multiplication in your head, and you need to carry over the numbers, you do this by storing those numbers in your working memory. But it doesn't just apply to numbers and words, it's also very important when it comes to movement and proprioception. So for example, if you're trying to learn a punch, you need to remember to twist the hips and to push from the foot. You need to remember to turn over the hand if you're performing more of a boxing style punch or a karate style punch. You need to go all the way through, you need to make sure you snap it back quickly. You need to make sure that the other arm is back first. I have a bit of a tendency of punching before the other arm has been fully retracted. You need to keep your guard up. All these are different things you need to remember at once. And this is hard enough, but then when you go to perform the movement, that's much more information coming at you, and it all falls out your head. According to a now old theory by Paul Fitz and Michael Posner, we go through 3 phases of learning a new skill. That being the cognitive phase, the associative phase, and the autonomous phase. During the cognitive phase, this is when we need to use our working memory to juggle all that information, and studies do show that people who have a larger working memory capacity, even for numbers, find it easier to learn new skills because they're able to integrate that information together, keep it in mind as they're performing the movement, and thus they learn the skill more quickly. Lately, I've discovered I think I have a slight deficit in this area, and it certainly held me back. The good news is I do believe it can be trained, and it's something I'm working on. As you guys know, I built an app called BioMind, which you can find in the link down below. It's free, you can pay whatever you want, however, if you would like to donate something. If you don't want to pay anything, then don't use PayPal at checkout, because PayPal won't let you pay nothing. While you can use apps and things to train your working memory, what's also really good is to just, once again, practice more complex moves. Not only learning moves, but also moves that require more proprioceptive information, that require greater attention to your senses. Juggling is a fantastic example of something that we know can improve working memory and focus and attention, and it's something that you can do anywhere, and it's fun. The same goes for balancing on a balance ball, or performing crawls, or even climbing a tree. And anything you can do to increase brain plasticity, that's the ability of the brain to form new neural connections, even birth new neurons, is going to improve your ability to learn. That means learning regularly, which does boost brain plasticity. Also can mean supplementing correctly. I'm not going to go into this in detail here, but things like magnesium threonate can be really good for boosting brain plasticity, so can omega-3 fatty acid. And getting more sleep is really good, of course, as well. So did I land a good tornado kick? Unfortunately not really. Liam did a better job than I did. I found by the end I was getting tripped over my own feet, kind of two in my own head, and as I was turning, I was placing my foot down before kicking, which meant I was essentially just turning around and then kicking, which isn't a tornado kick. This kind of clicked overnight and watching some footage of the training back, so I've been practicing it over and over the last 2 days. My legs though were so sore from drilling this over and over again the previous day that I could barely lift my leg above waist height. I now need to go back and look at those other things that he told me, like what to do with the back leg, etc. But I think I now have enough pieces that I can drill this and practice it. I can't stop doing it despite the pain. So that's an example of how good for you learning skills like this is. That is how we train like Taskmaster. We keep learning new physical skills, keep learning new exercises, and in doing so, we become better at doing just that. If you want a training program that's designed in this way, that incorporates lots of different movements from a ton of different disciplines, and at the same time is building the kind of base attributes and traits that you need, then be sure to check out my ebook and training program, Super Functional Training 2.0, which also comes with over 2 hours of instructional video. I'll put a link to that in the description down below. Also like to say a massive thank you to Liam Ellis and Grant Stevens for working with me on this video. Grant Stevens, of course, teaching us the amazing tornado kick. You can see how incredibly talented he is. And if you want to learn that move, he has a tutorial over on his channel. You can check that out in detail. I'll leave a link to that in the description down below. Also, Liam Ellis is a videographer and he's working with YouTubers. So if you live in the UK and you're in a YouTube channel and you want to get some really high quality footage, he's extremely talented, then I'll put a link to his website in the description as well, and you can get in touch with him there. Thanks also to Paul Clutterbuck for letting us use his gym at First for Fitness in Bicester. It's an awesome coaching gym. If you're in the area and you want some coaching and a great community vibe, then check it out. Thanks as well again to Tej Hanley for sponsoring this video, and thanks so much to you guys for watching. Bye for now.
Oh, what?
That was a tornado. Yes, that's perfect.
Oh.
That was a slow one as well.
Yeah, and it's quite a good end shot, I think, maybe.